the catalyst to the necessary reforms that we need in the country. You will be hearing more about this. I'm certain that the public and the greater democracy and all of those stakeholders involved in it will have to now sit down and discuss. Because every election we go past this, we've heard many entities from election observers, from the election supervisor, have suggested, election reform, particularly when it comes to the finances, but also the independence of the supervision of the election has always been called for. So this may be the one thing that triggers that necessarily. But as we said before, we're a party about transparency in truth. And that's why you see we've decided to make the statement come out and be just that. In light of it being referred to the police, that's necessary because it is an infraction under the elections law. Hence the reason or limitation of comment at this point. But
yes.
We are here to be transparent with the people, and as things progress, you'll be hearing more from us as a party.
Okay. So
with that being said, OC, as you know, we always try to be informative about what is happening from the parliamentary process in our duties as the official opposition. And again, we give apologies for our leader. He'll be back on island in time for the parliament sitting away on official business. But we have a list of things that are going to be coming to parliament. 4 bills, a series of questions. I think so far as 19 questions have been submitted. Until the motions have been agreed to by the speaker, I can't speak to them, but I know that there's 3 motions that have been filed from the official opposition, 19 questions, and if the public and we have time today, I would like to read some of those questions, and the member can also speak to the ones of which he filed specifically. I will speak to the ones I filed. I think we went over some of those already in previous appearance here on the show, and some of the other ones filed by our other colleagues to give a sentiment of why we've done so and a little bit of background. Another interesting point, OC, that should be highlighted is the fact that we have some new standing orders, which changes up the operations of how Parliament is going to proceed. Say, for example, for the very first time, we, under the guidance and leadership of Sir Alan McLaughlin, when he was Speaker of the House, he modernized the standing orders, and for the first time we're going to have a question time to the Premier, quite similar to that of the Prime Minister in the UK. So every single Wednesday there's going to be a time for questions to the Premier, whereby those questions could be submitted 2 days before the sitting of the House, and the question could be no longer than 15 seconds, if my memory serves me well, in respect to the duration of the question, but you don't have any opportunities for any supplementary. So they're expected to be quite rapid and quick, gives the Premier an opportunity every sitting to give a quick update on relevant things. And those are separate and apart from your traditional parliamentary questions, which allow for supplementaries and follow-up by other members of the Parliament. So up until Monday of this week, there will be enough time still for questions to the Premier. As far as I'm aware, I don't think any has been filed thus far.
No,
I
haven't filed any.
Yeah, and neither have I. I think people are going to slowly walk into these new standing orders, and the time limits and the different sections of the standing orders. Sometimes we are so accustomed to saying repeating the standing orders, as we know, like say a suspension of the standing orders 10-2 for the House to continue beyond the hour of 4 o'clock. Like, that's so ingrained in me after 8 years. I'm now going to have to remember which is the other standing order. So the standing orders, for those who are listening, are the Bible for our Parliament. It keeps us in order, what rules we must abide by, what provisions are available for our ability to do our job, and so forth. So this first sitting, I want to apologize from now, not only for the official opposition, but all members of Parliament and the Speaker and even the clerk and staff at Parliament, because there's going to be some growing pains as we adjust to the new standing orders and how they will be applied. And there's been much talk within the administration of the Parliament itself to make sure members are trained and remember that some things you can't do anymore, some new things that are available to us, how they're going to be applied in practical terms.
Speaking, if I could interrupt there, just a point that I want to get to our listeners and our viewers. Speaking of standing orders, of course, when something isn't addressed in the standing orders, then you refer to Erskine May.
Correct.
Erskine May, that document, that book, that volume, it is not cheap.
No.
I was thinking the other day whether or not the Parliament would fund it for each member of Parliament, but it would have to be returned so that it can then be rotated to any other new member of Parliament, or whether or not in the parliamentary library as it stands now, how many copies of Erskine May are in there that are available to members of Parliament?
Well, I'm mindful that I don't want to eat up the mic because my colleague and partner in this role that we play is well versed in it. But from the practical perspective of being a member for 8 years, I'm going to speak to this part. For one, the Parliament does provide Erskine Mays for all members if they request one.
Okay.
In a modern day like today, versions of the Erskine May are also available online. The reason why I wouldn't suggest, and it's not a practice to buy a Erskine May for a member and then pass it back on, is that by the time the 4 years are done, they're going to be an updated new edition.
Yes, yeah.
So the edition changes quite often as things modernize itself. And there's always a hard copy available at the library at the Parliament for us to go to. So the Parliament does a really good job making sure that we're prepared from an Erskine May perspective. Interestingly enough, we were just provided all MPs with a laptop. This brand new, spanking new laptop that I have here is the kindness of the Parliament. I won't say kindness. I think it's a matter of
kindness is another word.
It's a matter of that every member has one. And in this laptop, we all have had a setup with all the list of the important legislation, procedures, and so forth, which is very useful for each member. I'm fully aware of all of this, and I normally have the hard copies, but moving from now to more of an electronic approach, and digital approach, we have all these access, particularly to the Erskine May electronically as well.
Great. Thanks for that information. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly. Whew.
Can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget, our custom closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
With Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Member of Parliament, Mr. Kenneth Bryan, and the Member for Red Bay, Mr. Roy Tatum. One of our listeners has also contributed to the question in relation to our standing orders and and Erskine May. They point out that if matters are not addressed in our standing orders, referral must be made to the House of Commons and Parliament of Northern Ireland unless that too has changed. Do you know whether or not that
I wasn't aware of that.
policy has changed?
Our standing orders speak to referring to the Erskine May, which governs exactly that now. So they are subject to the same Erskine May that we are. So Erskine May is like the top Bible of the procedures for all Commonwealth parliamentaries. So you may have standing orders for yourself in each parliament across the Commonwealth. But that's the last place, like almost like the appeals court. What is it called again? The final court you go to. I can't remember what
Privy
Council. So this Erskine May is like the Privy Council of courts for rulings, and but we don't have any issues in that regard. We've done quite well, and I want to say thank you to Sir Alan McLaughlin for his updating of our standing orders. Have always made sure that we're trying to ahead of the game, and I think our parliamentary process, though needs some improvements, is definitely one of the more advanced parliaments within the Caribbean region Commonwealth parliaments. So with that being said, Mr. Connor, as I was saying before, we have a number of things coming before the House, and in the interest of time, we do want to allow for some calls a little bit later on in the show.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that we have the chance to tell the public exactly what's coming to Parliament. And thus far, as I said to you before, we have a number of questions. So why don't we start with the questions first, because most people are familiar with those. And I'll ask, Roy, you want to do your questions first?
That's fine. Last time I was here, I mentioned that I had a number of, I had several parliamentary questions. I couldn't speak to them then because they hadn't yet been approved by the Speaker. They have now been approved. And I have four of them. One is with regards to the work undertaken in 2023 and 2024 by individuals from the UK's Department for Transport to support plans for a modern public transport system. I'm asking if that work has been completed, and if so, when will the findings or the report be made public? I don't recall seeing anything about that at all. The other one is with regards to and all of these first ones are to the Honourable Minister of Planning, Lands, Agriculture, Housing and Infrastructure. So the second one is asking about whether there are formal agreements in place, including required timelines between the National Roads Authority and utility companies, in particular the two water companies, to ensure the full reinstatement of roads that have been damaged because of repair works or other activities carried out beneath or along public roads. This is a real issue in Red Bay and parts of Prospect. I'm figuring other parts of the island as well. There's some roads that have been in some sort of disrepair because of road works for some time, and it needs fixing. The other one has to do with an update on the Bimini Drive to Selkirk Connector Road. That's a cut-through road that connects, as it states, Selkirk to Bimini Drive by Grand Harbour. That's going to be increasingly important, I think, as the new roundabout and bypass system by Kings comes into fruition, so that people from Selkirk and down in the back don't have to go onto the main road there. They can just go through and cut through and save a lot of grief and time. That's been promised for quite some time, and I know there are some issues, but we need to get past those issues and actually get that done. So I'm looking for an update on that. And the other one has to do with, and this has to do with community policing. I hesitate because originally I was addressing this to the government, but it's been redirected, which is fine, to the DG. asking for confirmation whether the Commissioner of Police intends to strengthen and enhance the operational capacity of the community policing department. The government has to fund it. So that's the importance of that. And then the other one I have here is
it's an interesting point. Well,
sorry, I must have missed one.
That question.
That is four.
Before we left the sitting government, we did approve in cabinet a substantial amount of money for the police department, and some of that was focused on the community policing. Now, that was done by a Section 11.5, Section 12, which means it has to come to Parliament to get its final support. So with that already been done, I don't see any reason why the government should have an excuse to say that there would not be enough financial support for the community officers. We met with the Commissioner of Police on the raise of what they were trying to do, hire more Caymanian police officers in the force, as well as hire more community officers. So that happened before this election. It has to come to Parliament to be ratified, Section 11.12, before you can spend the money. So I expect that the government will do that at some stage, unless they plan not to move forward with that approach. One would also highlight that within the reporting of our budget, that Section 12 that was approved in Cabinet before the election would have been considered in the prefuse budget projections. And now we have had much talk, because I know the conversation is going to be whether we can afford it or not. But we have seen that we had a projected $26 million deficit, and then subsequently a first quarter report with a $54 million surplus, more than what they expected. So the money should not be a concern at this point. Obviously, we have 3 more quarters to go, but one would assume that if all goes as average as normally projected to go, we should be quite fine. And those monies that were approved for the police before should not be troubled or continue to be followed through. So the question upon which my colleague has asked about the community policing can be satisfied for the good people of Red Bay and the Greater Cayman Islands for community officers, because it's been a thing that many people talked about throughout the campaign for all parties, is that we want more community officers. So hopefully they will answer it and be able to speak to it.
Public safety is a key function of government. So and community policing, many would argue, is the base of trying to ensure, starting at the community level, that the police have the ability to keep the public safe. At the community level, that's where you get your information. That is where you show our presence. So it is hugely important, and the program was working very well prior to COVID. COVID disrupted many things. This is one of the things it disrupted. We need to put the funding. We need to get people. No, I think they may have an issue. They may have some challenges with getting people, but let's fund it and get past that. We have to find a way to get community policing back up and going again. Can I mention a few? Sorry, go ahead. I'll mention a few things from Roy McTaggart.
Yes, correct.
Now, Roy McTaggart had another appointment this morning, so he couldn't make it. So I'll just mention some of his parliamentary questions. He had 3 here. One is to the Minister for Planning. It says asking whether the government intends to proceed with the ongoing work related to the environmental impact assessment for the proposed extension of the Owen Roberts International Airport runway. The other to the Minister of Education, asking whether the Honourable Minister will advise whether the government intends to introduce reforms to public school governance that will both empower school principals and leadership teams with greater management responsibilities and provide more direct involvement by parents and business leaders. This goes to one of the planks that the PPM campaigned on, and actually a direction that the PPM were heading prior to the last time we were in government in 2021, providing more increased governance for schools themselves, so they can be in charge of their own affairs. So we can stop having issues like suppose they're not having toilet paper in schools and have them do their own ordering of supplies, and school books, but also importantly, having principals more responsible for their performance of their teachers. And the other one we discussed very briefly. We couldn't speak to it when I was here last time because it hadn't been approved. But this is to do with to address to the Honourable Premier Minister of Financial Services. Can the Honourable Premier Minister of Financial Services advise whether the government intends to introduce legislative changes to give effect to private members' motion number 14 of 2023-2024, entitled "A Motion on Higher Standards of Bank Duty of Fairness to Customers," which was passed in the Parliament in July 2024. And OC, what I will do is I will leave this with you, sir.
Okay.
Which is a copy of that.
Okay, I think that wasn't a signal to, but we know that we have to go to our headline news at 9 o'clock. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, with the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Member of Parliament, Mr. Kenneth Bryan, and the Member for Red Bay, Mr. Roy McTaggart, will continue after headline news.
One radio station. Radio Cayman is the voice of the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
The Department of Vehicle and Driver's Licensing's Breakers Inspection Pit is closed today. This is for staff training. Luckily, all other locations and departments will remain open, and the Breakers Inspection Pit will reopen on Thursday as usual. U.S. President Donald Trump is considering whether to join Israel's strikes on Iran's nuclear sites as the conflict continues for a sixth day and angry rhetoric ramps up between all sides. American strikes could involve using superior weaponry to hit an underground nuclear site at Fordo, according to 5 sources who spoke to the BBC's U.S. partner CBS News. The president met with his national security team on Tuesday to discuss next steps. And U.S. film and TV giant Tyler Perry is being sued for $260 million by an actor who has accused the mogul of sexually assaulting him while working on his TV shows. Derek Dixon has filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles accusing Perry of using his influence in the entertainment industry to create a, quote, coercive, sexually exploitative dynamic while he was acting on The Ovals and Ruthless. He alleges Perry promised him a successful acting career, but then subjected him to, quote, escalating sexual harassment, assault and battery, and professional retaliation when he didn't reciprocate Perry's, quote, unwanted advances. Perry's lawyer denies the allegations and calls the lawsuit a scam to make money. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
The Health Services Authority would like to thank you, the Cayman community, for voting us the Best of Cayman Islands 2024 in 13 medical categories. As the largest and longest healthcare provider in the Cayman Islands, we have been caring for you for many generations, helping the people of our islands live longer, healthier, and happier lives. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For more information, visit hsa.ky or call 949-8600.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio, Deputy Leader of the Opposition and Member of Parliament, Mr. Kenneth Bryan, and also the representative for the constituents of Red Bay, Mr. Roy Tatum. Gentlemen, the mic is yours.
Yes, Mr. Connor, before we went to the break, we were just talking about a series of questions, and I think it was important that I elaborate a little bit further on my colleague's question about community policing.
Yeah.
You heard me speak about the Section 12 that we approved before the government changed under the leadership of former Premier Juliana O'Connor Connolly. And it just came to my memory after somebody alerted the fact that we did approve the Section 12 before the election for a sum of $12 million for the police. And it was focused on hiring 79 new police officers, and some of those being community police officers, as per what my colleague's question is referring to. And whenever you do Section 12s, you have to go back to Finance Committee to get them ratified. Interestingly enough, the government did not bring that Section 1112 to be ratified in the recent Finance Committee.
But the money has already been appropriated otherwise?
Well, as a subjective comment, because it has been approved through the process of Cabinet, but it has to be ratified in Parliament before you spend any dollar.
Okay.
But the government chose not to bring that one, but it brought the other three, having to do with NGS 55, which is HSA, the NAU, or DFA, now known as DFA, to pay for poor persons relief. And I'm not suggesting that they were not justified money requests or approvals, but this one was approved for the police and for the increase of community officers way before those other three. But they didn't bring it. So maybe the next time the government members are on the show, you can ask why they didn't bring that, even though it was already approved in Cabinet for ratification, so we can have these types of matters addressed. Because if it was brought to Parliament and Finance Committee, those questions could have been answered as to the amount of community officers, what's the plan from the police, and so forth. But with that being said, I want to move on now to the other elements that are before this sitting at the House. Sorry. There's three bills. One, the Churches and Corporation Bill. The second one, the Public Management and Finance Bill. Third one, the Public Services Management Amendment Bill. And the Virtual Assets Service Providers Amendment Bill. So there's only 4 bills thus far. I don't think the government would want to throw out any other one at this particular point that would have already been approved by Cabinet, because you have to meet the 28-day requirement for public consultation. So I don't suspect we'll have any surprises. I'm not aware of any other bills that have been gazetted they can just quickly throw at us, and it wouldn't be responsible for them to do that. So I suspect these will be the only bills that we will be dealing with. Now, the Churches and Corporation Bill is a cleanup exercise, I would dare say, in respect to how the management of the churches' operations are done as our financial structures within the country advance, as well as nonprofit legislation advances. You want to make sure that churches, because they deal with a lot of cash, that they are operating in the appropriate way. So I have had the opportunity to speak with the Churches Association, the Ministers Association, and they've had conversations with the government and are in support of thus changes. We took a look at it yesterday in caucus, and we find the bill to be appropriate as well. So we will tentatively give support to that unless something comes afoot between now and Wednesday of next week. In respect to the Public Management and Finance Amendment Bill, which speaks to the change in date and obligation from the current government to do their SPS within a 3-month period after an election. The Honourable Minister for Finance did I think a very elegant job of explaining the logic behind these changes and these proposed changes, which seeks to extend it for 6 months. Only particularly in the years of election year, which is logical because I think, like I was saying before, the teeth and pains of a new standing orders, I don't think we all saw or predicted that actually our official break within Parliament that is now outlined in law in the standing orders suggested we can't have Parliament at the time that is required for that SPS to come.
And
So
just
you
to state
would-
what that is. That's between months of July to
It's September.
July to September.
Yeah.
July to
And
September.
their deadline ended at the end of July, so we wouldn't be in Parliament. So it's justified.
So you would support that coming into effect now, which would extend the period of time for this this government.
Correct. It would be illogical to put that pressure. And to be honest with you, I think that this is something that was troubling before in previous administrations, but it was never really dealt with. So it sounds fair, and obviously there's obviously opportunity that if anything else comes up that we weren't seeing before, we propose amendments or suggestions of not supporting. But at this particular point, we don't see anything there that we shouldn't be supporting. In respect to the Public Service Management Bill, which is the bill that suggests the term limits for current non-Caymanian civil servants, which proposes amendments in law to allow regulatory changes in regulation. Obviously, naturally, this goes along with the government's spirit of these immigration changes. We are awaiting some presentations from the civil service. We have a few questions, and I won't go into the detail because we don't want to be premature without our full understanding. But I think the biggest concern that we had was the significant opportunity for changes by way of regulation, which is done in cabinet, to something as sensitive and as severe as this immigration policy of non-Caymanians. So the law is seeking to allow those changes, particularly the exemptions of persons who won't have to be exposed to a term limit, being done in cabinet. And that's away from the people, away from Parliament. There's no public consultation, and the only time you hear about it is after it's already done. We have some worries about that, but we will hear from the Honourable DG and the government as to the logic behind those proposals. As for the Virtual Assets Services Providers Amendment Bill 2025, I think this is yet again another cleanup exercise as the amendment, not cleanup exercise, let me rephrase that, advancement of our financial services that we offer. You know that the Cayman Islands is one of the leading jurisdictions in financial services, and virtual assets continue to be the new way forward. We obviously, you know that myself, I'm not the tech guy, so we are depending on them to present to us, and our honourable member Roy McTaggart is leading the charge in this area.
Okay.
So we're waiting to hear from the finance team, because we have a couple of questions before we make any comments. So hopefully between now and Wednesday of next week, when Parliament starts, we'll have a full understanding as to why these changes. We're tentatively in support because the advancement of any of our tools and vehicles that we offer for financial services is important, so we can stay ahead of the game. But we just want to make sure that all I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So those are the four bills that are coming to Parliament. There's a series of reports that are also coming, and we will not be making any comments on them, as they are just the standard obligation to lay these reports before the House. And there's 5 of them thus far, opportunity for more to come. The 2024 POX Annual Report and Audited Financial Statements, that's one. The ACC Annual Report for 2023-2024, the FRA 2024 Annual Report, the LRC Annual Report for 2024-2025, and the Office of the Commissioner of Police Annual Report 2024. That one, I think, would be probably one of the biggest ones for the general public to be mindful of, because it does tell us a lot about what's happening in the police force. For example, I always look forward to this report every year to see the staff complement ratios and percentages. How many are Caymanian, how many are not? And you track that every year. You can tell whether the police are delivering their commitment to Caymanize the police department, because they have to do a percentage of the total. How many are Caymanian, how many are non-Caymanian, and what denominations of those who are non-Caymanian within the police force. So those are the 3 reports. They're always available to the public to dive deeper into them. And I'm glad that because of the good work we did last time, that a lot of these reports are more modern. today. I mean modern. I mean updated, because usually reports are laid before the House and they're usually like 5-6 years old. As you notice, all of these reports are 2024. They have one here for 2023, 2024. But it shows that we, the former government, and I say we, meaning myself, along with the other members who were there before, did a very good job in making sure that all of these entities were having their reports updated. So that's at least a positive that people may see. So the ones that we're getting now are more current in the current day. In respect to, obviously this is going to be a state opening, so you'll have the governor come and give remarks, and then we will have our official opening. There's 3 private members' motions, 2 by myself and 1 by the Honorable Roy McTaggart. But hopefully the Wednesday morning before Parliament starts, we will have an opportunity to come on your show and talk about them then. As you know, Parliament will now be starting at 2 p.m., no longer at 10 p.m. as it was before.
10 a.m.
At 10 a.m. Thank you so much. So a little bit of changes. I want to encourage the listening audience that with this change in time, though I don't necessarily think it's going to work out the best for us because we're always late, but the new Speaker of the House is a stickler for time, so I know he's going to be strong in that sense. But I think one of the benefits here is that as we get into the substantive discussions of the day after, open statements, reports being laid, questions and so forth, and when you get to the business of the day, which is either motions or bills, by then it may be after 5 o'clock, where people are away from work and have the opportunity to listen and watch or even come down to Parliament and be a part of the exercise. Because the more participation by the public involved in our democracy, the more understanding, and therefore they can have a clearer picture of whether the people are doing what they have to do for us.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will resume with the Deputy Leader of the Opposition and the Member of Parliament for Red Bay. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
My mom's a superhero. She always knows what to do when I feel icky. Yesterday, we went to West Bay Pharmacy, and they had everything she needed. Medicine, my favorite band-aids with dinosaurs, and even flavored vitamins. Mom says they keep our family healthy. I think they're magic. But don't tell anyone. I think superhero shop at West Bay Pharmacy. West Bay Pharmacy, where the superheroes shop. West Bay Pharmacy and Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner.
This summer, choose from 10 international destinations for your vacation with Cayman Airways. Explore New York, discover Denver, roam Los Angeles, play in Tampa, shop in Miami, tour Panama, uncover Havana, hike in Los Angeles.
For the record, stay tuned. All right, just a reminder that you can feel free to call and speak with Mr. OC as you feel fit. Feel free to call us on our toll-free line, 1-800-534-8255, or you can call 949-6990. Or you can also WhatsApp us at 925-3261. If you want to send us a WhatsApp message, you can do so, or you can call us on WhatsApp as well. We are accepting WhatsApp calls. All right, this is Radio Cayman 89.9.9. All right. Let's rejoin OC in studio.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Those of you who are just joining us, letting you know that in the studio with me, Deputy Leader of the Opposition and Member of Parliament, Mr. Kenneth Bryan, and the member representing the constituency of Red Bay, Mr. Roy Tatum. Gentlemen, back over to you.
Thank you, OC. My colleague did want to opine on a further comment.
Sure. Right. Sure. So we were speaking early on with regards to the proposed changes for non-Caymanian civil servants to introduce term limits, as is done in the private sector. And there was we were discussing the fact that these changes, it seems, will come in the main in the form of regulations, which is not unusual. However, given the importance of this, I am hoping that the government will provide details as to what they're anticipating seeing these regulations to contain. Regulations don't get the usual type of public consultation, we're going to be asked in Parliament to agree to something in broad terms that we really haven't seen as yet. But again, given the importance of this, given the fact that this is a key change, and that the public have a keen interest in it, I am hoping that they will provide some details and not just leave it to be gazetted once they've agreed or published the changes. By now they would have gone through, I would have hoped, the majority of what these regulations would contain within their caucus. So there's no reason, I don't believe, why they can't be open in Parliament, not just to the parliamentarians on the opposition benches, but equally important or more important to the country in terms of what they anticipate precisely the regulations may entail. There may be some tweaks as they go along, but we should be able to know come the 25th what it is that they're looking to have in those regulations.
And if even with the regulations, with it being done in regulation, if the government really wants to, which I believe that they do, that they want to ensure that there is some synchronization between what is applicable to the private sector and what is applicable to government, they're going to need your support in Parliament in relation to the legislative changes as far as the immigration law is concerned in relation to work permits, rollover period and things of that nature. It would seem prudent that they would want you to be on board with what is going to be in the regulations, because you also want to ensure that the two are in sync as well. And the other thing that I was thinking is there may not be enough time for it, but any regulations that would impact something like this, maybe it should be placed on the table of the Legislative Assembly for negative resolution, which means that if no one votes, opposes it, then it goes through. But transparency, that is where you would have it as well.
Mr. Connor, you're hitting on some very important points there, and I want to make sure that our audience is following us, because we're talking about a lot of technicalities, and the average person don't deal with this every day, so they may not understand some of the terminology. So basically, I want to kind of summarize it so the average person gets what we're saying here. So ultimately, the civil service, the head of the civil service, the DG, has power under law based on the delegation of power from the governor to make changes in regulation by giving advice to the cabinet on the employment matters of everybody in the civil service. But in this case, we're talking about non-Caymanians. So this is actually not the politicians, because the truth is none of the MPs, those in the government or in the opposition, have any control over the employment, remuneration, benefits, and so forth of any civil service member. We've always talked about that, and some people argue about whether there should be more control or not. But that's not the argument for today. But this boils down to what changes and where the changes are going to be made about non-Caymanian civil servants. And the proposed bill is suggesting that they want to be allowed to make regulatory changes. So what is regulation? Regulation is secondary legislation. It's still law. It's just that you don't have to go to Parliament for it to get approved. And you can do that within the cabinet context, and then they make regulations, and they can gazette them, and then you have to abide by those.
Brace and breeches of the legislation.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but the key component of that is the exclusion of public consultation and scrutiny by stakeholders like ourselves and the public. And the public. So with something as sensitive as what is being proposed, and I'm going to bring it back home now, which is the amendment to Section 67, power to make regulation, and it says the Principal Act to be amended in Section 67(1) as follows by inserting after paragraphs A the following paragraph. So this is what they're proposing, is that to provide for term limits in respect to employment of non-Caymanian civil servants. We all understand that. But the part that is interesting that we are worried about happening behind closed doors, and I say behind closed doors, not behind closed doors particularly, but in cabinet where there's no other stakeholders to scrutinize and critique, is to provide for limitations, prohibitions, exemptions, conditions of employment, and any other matters relating to the appointment and reappointment of non-Caymanian civil servants. So if there's going to be any exemptions from this, and we all hear people talk about, well, maybe a doctor have to be exempt from the term limits, maybe a police officer and so forth. That's going to be very sensitive, and there's going to be a lot of ambiguity of who should be exempt or not. I don't think that should be done behind closed doors. I think that needs to be done on the floor of Parliament, or at the very least, like you said, has to be passed with a positive resolution, whereby you bring it to Parliament and nobody opposes it, then it can go forward. But not to just allow it happen in Cabinet, particularly from this point, where that this can only be done unless it's on the advice of the civil service head, which is the Honorable DG. So if the DG doesn't give advice for these changes, they can't happen. So we're getting into some constitutional powers concerns about a very sensitive matter that is happening behind closed doors. So yes, we're making some changes to term limits. Yes, we're making some changes for exemptions, but what we're more concerned about is the process and the power, and whether or not, with this being so topical, so sensitive for the people of today, should it be done there? Now, some regulations with other legislation still has to go to Parliament for positive resolution. And I suspect and I believe that we think that this is one of those matters of such sensitivity, importance to the country's important to the country's future, that it should go to Parliament so everybody can talk about it and see it and say, okay, who are you exempting and why? Otherwise, what's going to happen? They're going to get exempt. They're going to sit in Cabinet, which obviously we respect and look up to the Cabinet, but they'll be the sole deciders, and you don't find out about it until after it's already done, where the public doesn't have any say about it. Now, I would like to trust that the government would do some public consultation about it, but they don't have to. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to come back to the point I was making earlier, I want to come back to something you said to OC, which is, as a parliamentarian, this is a historic change, I guess it is. This is a key change with how government, non-Caymanian government employees, civil servants, will be treated. And it is something that's important to Caymanians in terms of Caymanians feeling that they have the ability to actually find a place within the civil service. As a parliamentarian, I'm going to be asked potentially asked during the next sitting of Parliament to vote for this, when, as you said just now, and I will see what information we do receive, and I'm glad that we're going to be able to receive some information from the government with regards to this. But that is because we asked the question. It was not because anybody came and said, by the way, guys, here's what's happening. Can we have a chat? Let's have a meeting. There's no meeting for us. We will receive information. Right? No sit-down meeting. Fine. But at least we're receiving information. But we asked for it. You're absolutely correct. If given the importance of these changes, it should be an issue between the opposition and the government. There's a non-confrontation. We should be on the same page. Right? So it would have been good if after they had got all their ducks lined up, if they had approached us and said, or to our leader, here's what we're thinking of doing. Can we have a chat about it? Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any concerns? How can we make sure that when we're going there on the day that this receives and the blessing of the entire Parliament. It probably will. But I'm being, as I sit here now, as far as I'm aware, I might be being asked to go in there and approve something blindly without knowing what it is. Then I don't think that will happen. I'm sure there'll be some information provided, but I would want to hope that with regards to regulations that they'll be very open and transparent with them and tell us, but more importantly, the wider public, what it is that is the regulations will likely to have. Right? There may be some tweaks and changes to it, but we should be leaving there after Parliament with a pretty good idea as to what it is that's being expected to happen.
Okay.
We have to go to break?
Yeah, with that, we're going to take a commercial break. When do you want to advise the audience that we will open up the phone lines?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want to make one last point on this particular one, the proposed amendments, and then we can take the calls out.
Sure. Okay. So, folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the phone lines will be open. There will be, a pause before we actually take the calls for the Deputy Leader of the Opposition to cover some other points as well. But you can start dialing in soon. 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, 949-6990, WhatsApp 925-3261. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
All right, it is 9:30 right here on Radio Cayman 89.9, and at this time we're just going to rejoin our hosts in studio for the record. And just a reminder that you can call us, you can call our studio lines, make sure you get an opportunity to talk with those who are in studio. You can call us at 1-800-534-8255, or you can call us at 949-6990, or you can call us on WhatsApp at 925-3261. That's 925-3261. This is Radio Cayman. This is 89.9, and of course we go until 10 o'clock inside for the record. All right, gonna go for a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, so let's rejoin OC in studio. This is For the Record.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. Like I said earlier, the phone lines are open as soon as the Deputy Leader of the Opposition has concluded a short portion of this, Mr. Bryan.
Thank you, Mr. Connor, and thank you to the listening audience for staying with us as we go through these proposed bills and their intended purpose as we see it. Just to wrap up the Public Service Management Amendment Bill 2025, the other concern that we're not concerned, but we would like to be informed about is the definition that is being proposed to introduce the definition of term limits, says term limit, quote unquote, in relation to the employment of a non-Caymanian civil servant means the maximum period of time in which, in respect of which a non-Caymanian civil servant may be employed with the civil service in accordance with the personnel regulation. At this particular point, it does not say anywhere in the proposed amendments how long the term limit is. Now, is it going to be in tandem with the current term limit for private sector? Is there going to be a new one? You see, the government, rightfully so, and we're taking a supportive stance at this point, that they're planning to make some major changes. But we can't approve this one today and then approve the next one tomorrow without understanding how one affects the other. So, for example, if we don't even know what the term limit is in respect to time period, and this one has to do with civil servants, is the government going to bring a different one with private sector with a different time period? So I think they need to be, I'm not suggesting that they're going to be at odds. They probably have it all lined up in their minds. But for us as members of Parliament, we need to be able to make sure that we're seeing that this all lines up. As my colleague said earlier, we don't want to be supporting a piece of legislation for you to go and do something else later on that we weren't technically in support of. And that's what could potentially happen here with this amendment to the bill.
And if I could just add quickly, and despite any comments that may have been made by anyone, DG or minister, with regards to intentions, but it is as we said last night, it really is what's in black and white that matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
yeah. So I think if I can opine a little further.
Sure. They'll let us know when calls are coming in. Yeah.
I think what my colleague is getting at is that the DG, a very, very elegant man, and has always been tried to be as informative as he possibly can, and said what the intention is with the new regulations that are coming, more opportunities for Caymanians and so forth. That's support. We're happy to hear that. Can we see it in paper? Can we see it in some draft regulations? So saying all of these things is well and good, and like my good old former colleague Ard McLean would say, trust but verify, right? So we just want a little bit more to make sure that we are supporting something that is in the full best interest of the country, and we suspect that it is, but we want confirmation of that. So that's where we are with respect to this. I think it's interesting, though, Mr. Connor, that I sit here today when one of my first major motions to Parliament back in 2018, I think 18 or 19, was me proposing that certain positions be made for Caymanians only. And though the government at that time, which was a progressive government, was in support of it, the motion and the spirit of it, trying to protect Caymanians within the civil service, they were like, Kenneth, we can't support it because unless the civil service head at the time, Franz Manderson, and still is today, as well as the governor agrees to it, it's pointless what we do here in Parliament, because we can approve it in Parliament, but the governor can just not assent to it. The significance of that is something that I think the public needs to be very mindful of. Because when we're talking about the civil service space, constitutionally, we don't have any say at all over what happens in there. If the deputy governor does not come to give support to it, even if they push it through cabinet, the DG can go to the governor and say, I do not think this is in the best interest. Don't allow it to get on the agenda. This goes into our relationship as an overseas territory, and mother or father, not sure how you say it now, we have a king, the UK, and that we're an overseas territory, and we answer to them. And our constitutional construct of power outlines that. So this is going to get into some very sensitive territory, because there's many other things that could be perceived as needs to be changed. Like our AG is currently about to retire. I think that he's made public utterances of coming close to his end. I think it's either this year or early next year. I personally think there needs to be term limits on the AG position.
Why not take it further than that? There are overseas territories that their Attorney General is selected from Parliament. You have a Minister of Legal Affairs.
Correct. And at this point, whoever is going to replace the AG, we have no clue who that is. That person is a very significant individual within our democracy and our governance model. So I think we're going down some serious territory here. And as simple as this may seem, I want the public to understand we're opening up a door of discussion. And I think the DG is fully aware of how where this could go to and what it highlights. It highlights a relationship, power that may need to be examined, and there's an opportunity to examine it here. So we're hoping that, obviously we're naturally, tentatively in support of the intention here, which is to make sure that we're giving opportunities for Caymanians. But the other part of this is that having a rollover policy with the civil service for non-Caymanians, the intent is and the hope is that it will result in jobs for Caymanians. I'm not sure with only this step that will happen. So there has to be other steps that
or when it will actually
happen. Yeah.
You kick in as well. Yeah.
A lot of people are going, well, so when this rollover starts, does it start with everybody right now? So we're talking about 7 or 9 years later before we start to see the benefits? Or are we talking about people who have been there and some of them may be rolled over tomorrow or next year or 2 years? These questions we don't have answers to because the term limits and in this proposal amendment bill doesn't give dates, times, or years. So there needs to be more clarity, but we are in support in the intention, and hopefully the debate will clarify that for us.
And would you conjecture that since it was a topic that was on everyone's platform, everyone's manifesto, immigration, and talking, about the rollover in the civil service as well, that even if the government, members of the government, and their backbench are not satisfied with what emanates from all of this and what their expectations are, that they will support it? Or could we see a situation where members may be asked to be removed from their the whole concept of collective responsibility and to vote their conscience?
Some interesting questions there, my brother. and I think that probably the one person that we should hear the most from on the government side, or two people rather, is the Honorable Premier on the government's position, because this bill is being brought by the Deputy Governor. This bill has to do with the employment of civil servants upon which no member of Parliament has any say. So this bill is going to be brought by the DG, whoever the acting DG is going to be, or the DG himself. But the Premier is going to have to say a position because it's related to the immigration transition. This is being poised as a part of the immigration reform perspective. But this is the low-hanging fruit, because the bigger change is the other reforms that are coming. So you got to hear from the Premier, and you definitely need to hear from the Minister in charge of immigration, because how is this going to affect the bigger immigration policy perspective? So we're looking forward to hearing from both them, and I would like not to see this time, as we've seen before, where they sit there and don't say anything. The government is obligated to speak on this bill and speak right away. Not play this foot and mouse game, waiting for the opposition. Cat and mouse game. So I expect to hear from the Honourable Premier. In all due respect, the Premier must speak, and the Minister for Immigration must speak. The other members can do their job by supporting the government, because the bill is being brought by the government, or being brought through cabinet, so it's assumed to be supported. But they better speak on this and how it is in the context of the bigger picture of immigration reform, because this is only the civil service part of things. And I'm quite sure whoever the DG is, or acting DG, will go down even further things that we've asked about, okay, what does these regulations mean? What is the next step? What is your intention? And so we hope that we'll get those answers. But there needs to be some speaking points.
The bill is being brought by the DG. We wouldn't have got the Parliament without going through their caucus and obviously going through cabinet. So it would, logic says it's supported by the government. So again, I'm just looking forward to understanding what the details are to make sure that we can fully support it. Because I would really like to fully support it, but it needs to make sure that it's doing what everybody believes it's doing.
Okay, can we grab a caller before we go to the next commercial break? We do have a caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, O.C.
Hey, morning. How are you?
Good, man. Morning to your guests there, Mr. Roy and Mr. Bryan.
Good morning, big brother. How you doing?
I'm good. Now, listen up, please. I'm going to ask a question. I want an answer. I don't want a statement. I know the difference between a statement and an answer.
Okay, sir. I'll give you straight answers.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, there is ample room for a brand new green industry. It's called medicinal marijuana. Now, listen to me. It starts with the farmer. They need to be an agronomist. That has to be taught in school. Then you have to open a laboratory for processing. You will need educated children there because this is medicine we're making. Then you have a bottling little business to bottle your product. Then the product goes on to the pharmacist. That's job there. the pharmacist, then from the pharmacy, it goes to the doctor. So that's a new brand industry because the medicinal marijuana business in the Cayman Island is booming. Ask the doctors. I am sure that you and Mr. Roy know a lot of people that is using the medicinal extracts from marijuana. I know you guys know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am asking you this. If somebody bring it to Parliament, right, would you guys support it? I want an answer, not a statement. Thank you very much.
So hold on. Before you go, Elvis, can you... I want to make sure, because I'm going to speak for myself, and I'm going to speak to you what I would do, and then obviously the opposition will go off and collectively caucus this matter, and then only then can we give you a position on the whole collective. So I'm going to speak to my answer today, but I want to make sure that I understand your question. You're saying that if a bill came or a motion came to allow for medicinal marijuana creation or factory here in the Cayman Islands, would we support it? Is that what I'm saying? Understanding? Is he still there?
No, it doesn't sound
okay.
as if it's still there.
I'll just quickly give my answer.
Okay, and then we'll go to the commercial break.
Yes. So I obviously am in support of the decriminalization of the marijuana in small amounts because I think it harms people for something that's considered a misdemeanor in my mind. So that's my personal opinion. In respect to whether we want to create a marijuana industry here for the financial opportunities and whether the global situation is moving that way forward, it'll have to be detailed on how you control it, and that it doesn't become something that can be abused. Creating an industry for profit is totally different than creating something for recreational benefit. So if you're saying for profit purposes that can be regulated properly and policed properly, I would definitely be tentatively supported, but I would have to know the minor details. But I do agree with him that eventually we're going to get to that point. It's just about society slowly coming to terms with the advancements and the safety surround marijuana production and the benefits of it.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to take our last commercial break. I do believe we have a caller maybe on the WhatsApp number as well. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Mom's a superhero. She always knows what to do when I feel icky. Yesterday, we went to West Bay Pharmacy, and they had everything she needed. Medicine, my favorite band-aids with dinosaurs, and even flavored vitamins. Mom says they keep our family healthy. I think they're magic. Don't tell anyone. I think superhero shop at West Bay Pharmacy. West Bay Pharmacy, where the superheroes shop. West Bay Pharmacy and Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
My mom's a superhero. She always knows what to do when I feel icky. Yesterday, we went to West Bay Pharmacy, and they had everything she needed. Medicine, my favorite band-aids with dinosaurs, and even flavored vitamins. Mom says they keep our family healthy. I think they're magic. Don't tell anyone. I think superhero shop at West Bay Pharmacy. West Bay Pharmacy, where the superheroes shop. West Bay Pharmacy and Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
J.A. Roy Bodden, in association with Ian Randall Publishers, cordially invites you to the launch of his second volume on the study of Caymanian society, deconstructing development, immigration, society and economy in early 21st century Cayman. The book launch will be held at the Sir Vassal Johnson Hall, University College of the Cayman Islands, on Saturday the 5th of July at 6 p.m. Refreshments, book sales and signing to follow immediately after the launching ceremony. The full complement of J.A. Roy Bodden's published works will also be on sale. The first 50 attendees will receive a complimentary copy of one of the author's previously published works.
This summer, choose from 10 international destinations for your vacation with Cayman Airways. Explore New York, discover Denver, roam Los Angeles, play in Tampa, shop in Miami, tour Panama, uncover Havana, hike in La Ceiba, jam in Kingston, or relax in Montego Bay. Connecting flights are also available from the sister islands. Cayman Airways offers more international non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline, and the lowest rates for checked bags. Book today at CaymanAirways.com, download our new mobile app, or call Cayman Airways reservations on 949-2311. Come fly with us and relax with your uniquely Caymanian airline.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Are you feeling overwhelmed, sad, stressed out, or suicidal and need support? Call 1-800-534-6463. K-Mind, Mental Health Helpline. It's okay to ask for help. K-Mind Mental Health Helpline, available from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday. It's free and confidential support and guidance on your emotional and psychological health.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. I have to do some time management now. We have about less than 8 minutes to go in the show. We have a WhatsApp caller. We have another caller as well. And Mr. Roy Tatum wants to comment on something that was said last. And then I also have to give my guests an opportunity for some closing comments, as well. So that means that the callers, you're going to have to be as brief as possible, Mr. Tatum.
And I will do my part and be brief as well. And my good friend Elvis and I have had a conversation about this several times. What I'm about to say, he's heard me say before, which is that the UK will not allow us to legalize. They will marijuana. They will allow us to decriminalize. And to prove that point, Bermuda, their parliament tried to legalize marijuana. And the UK said no. The UK government will not assent to it. That is still the case. I'm looking at a headline here from a newspaper in Bermuda, the Royal Gazette. It says Britain's stance unchanged on legalizing cannabis in Bermuda. At the end of the day, we are an overseas territory, and the laws we pass here, the UK needs to ultimately approve them as well. The other last thing I'll say on this is that I remember attending a meeting of CARICOM a number of years ago, and you had CARICOM states who might have been willing to legalize marijuana, but their hesitation was the impact to their banking and access to banking within the U.S., because marijuana is not legal at the federal level in the U.S. So I will leave it at that.
Yeah, so you want to take the calls now?
Yeah. We're going to take the WhatsApp caller first. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Rambo.
I'm Susie. Good morning. Dr. Lee, you want to Tatum?
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, I got kind of strength. As the opposition, right? You guys need to focus with a focal point relentlessly, and it's a policy failures, right? And you guys need to decipher policy with interpretation and precision. Saying the referendum, right? It was a cartier privilege. It was a political tainted, in the veracity of it. It was accuracy with conformity. In the whole colloquial element of it, the electorates or voters, the mapping, or the personal truth of it. Okay? In a country that don't cultivate in the ground to harvest, don't eat the supper because food security. The herbs is a revenue stream. Okay? Places like I wrap it up now. Places like Central America, Chiquita, Double Bananas, and right? They cultivate, they export. All came export from cake, right? So Canada now, they did initiative in Jamaica. And my birthday, October 17, 2018, they legalized it. All Canada, Trump want Canada to be a state because the Russia, that meridian, they want to impress Greenland and security. So we need to wake up, smell coffee. In the herb topic, it should went to referendum. To Parliament resolve easily. ABs. Okay?
Thank you.
So you guys, when you go to Parliament next Wednesday, we have the power in Maryline. Do what you do. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. What, still one more caller? The landline? Yes. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, OC. Morning, my brother. I called back again. Now listen to me. Brother Roy, Mr. OC, Mr. Kenneth, did you hear Ms. McKeewa said anything about legalized marijuana? I can ask this question one more time. Listen, and I want to answer. I said, because I know I'm not going to do it, if one of the members bring a motion to start a new industry for medicinal marijuana, the extract of medicinal marijuana that you can get it anywhere in Cayman now, but it is being imported. I can ask the question again. Would you support a medicinal, which has to go through the pharmacists and the doctors, not from Elvis ground walking about, That's a new industry would have to be regulated from the beginning to the end. Do you guys know how to answer a question? Please, if I do know, I will tell her it answered yes or no. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller, for that. Gentlemen, you will have to wrap up your comments or your response to that in your closing comments as well. Let's start with you, Mr. Tatum.
Thank you, OC. I'll just make it quick. What Elvis is asking for means that you need to legalize marijuana. You need to legally be able to grow it and have an industry on it. So yes, it is about legalizing marijuana. But let me wrap up, and I'll say this. I had the opportunity last week to attend the graduation ceremony of Red Bay Primary School. And I want to say that was one of the most joyous things that I've done since being elected. It was 2.5 or so hours long, but did not seem long at all. And I really was extremely pleased to be there. And I want to congratulate the leadership of the school, the teachers, the students there, the parents. I mean, it was really a fantastic listen to the achievements of these students. And Cayman's future is in a good place. So I want to hats off to Red Bay Primary School. Other than that, I will pass over to my colleague and for his closing remarks.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, colleague. And I was just trying to read something here in respect to some comments that we made. But I'm quite sure that I'm happy to come back on in the afternoon, another show, or if the show is available on Friday. I'm not sure if any government members are coming on, but to further opine, because this topic of the bills that are coming are going to be rather sensitive.
We'll see what, on Friday, tomorrow afternoon and on Friday, I will host Talk Today as well. So
and if the public is seeking further input from us on these topics, we are happy to do so. That's our job, to keep the people informed. So we'd be happy to come back. I think I did answer Mr. McKeever in respect to his question. I think that because I answered right after he hung up, maybe in his transition from off the phone to listening to it, however he did listen to it, maybe have caused that for him not to hear. But ultimately, if we can get past the legalization approval from the UK perspective, creating an industry such as that, like he highlighted already, should be regulated properly and can be delivered. It's an economy, not about the consumption. So he's right, and my answer is simply yes. I would support that if that could be constitutionally approved from the UK. With that being said, OC, it's a pleasure to be on here. We will be back next week, Wednesday, and the sitting of Parliament to finalize our last little bit of thoughts on the proceedings before the Parliament. And I want to say I look forward to tomorrow's grand opening of my colleague's office.
That's today, actually.
Today. Yes.
Today. Yeah.
Yes, that's
you
right.
go there tomorrow, you're going to go there as a constituent, not as a guest.
We got so much things going on, so I'm mixing up the dates, so I apologize. And that's at 4 o'clock today.
4:30 today, 33 Marina Drive, opening of the Red Bay PPM office. Look forward to seeing you all there.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for being here this morning. Again, given the people of the Cayman Islands access, to you as well. I want to thank all of those persons who contributed by either calling in or sending WhatsApp messages as well. I want to thank Miss Basilia in the control room as well for being able to overcome all of the challenges, technical challenges that we're facing today as well. And one of these days, we will talk to you about our new hires here at Radio Cayman and give them an opportunity to introduce themselves to you. Meanwhile, I want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want, or even those who crave. So have a great day. Join Mr. Charles Glidden Chalo at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to continue to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands that has a soft spot for Caymanians. Take care.
Covering Little Cayman, Cayman Bride. Cover me.